Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to build a basic calculator in C. We're basically going to build a little program where the user can enter in two numbers, and then our program will take those two numbers, add them together, and spit out the answer. So this is going to be kind of cool, and we'll also learn about getting numbers as input from a user. So over here, I want to show you guys exactly how we can do this. The first thing I want to do is print out a prompt. So I basically want to prompt the user for some input. So over here, I can just say printf, and inside of here, we're just gonna give them a little prompt. So I'll say enter first number. And essentially what we're gonna have them do is enter in two numbers. So I'm actually gonna create two variables up here. So we'll make an int and we'll call it num1. And then we'll make another int and we'll call it num2. And I'm not actually going to give these values right up front. We're going to end up giving these whatever the user enters in. So after the user enters the first number, we need to actually grab that number. So I can use another C function called scanf. And in here, we're basically just going to say %d because we want to grab an integer. And then over here, I'm going to say the name of the variable where I want to store the value that gets entered. Now, if you're following along with this course, in the last tutorial, we were able to get a string of characters as input from the user. And basically, we just typed in like the name of the variable. But when we're getting input that's not a string of characters, in other words, when we're getting input that's not %s, so if it's like %d or %f or %c, so if it's like a decimal or an integer or a float or a character, we actually need to use a special symbol, this ampersand. So I'm gonna have to say ampersand and then the name of the variable where I want to store this value. So I'm just gonna say ampersand1. And basically what this means is we're accessing the address of num1. And we're gonna talk about addresses and pointers in a future video. But for now, just know that you need this ampersand here in order to store the value that gets entered inside of this variable. So once we do that, now we can move on. And we're basically just gonna do the same exact thing, but for the second number. So I'm gonna copy these and I'll paste this. And now instead of saying enter first number, we'll say enter second number. And we're just gonna store this inside of num2. All right, so once we're done with this, the last thing we wanna do is add them together and print out the answer. So I'm just gonna come down here, I'm gonna say printf, and we'll just say answer, and over here we'll print out the answer. So it's gonna be an integer, and we're basically just gonna print out num1 plus num2. So we're gonna print out the value of num1 plus num2. So we have our basic calculator. We're getting the first number, we're getting the second number, we're storing them inside of these variables, we're adding them together and printing them out. Let's try to run our calculator. So I'm gonna run my program, and you'll see over here it says enter first number. So let's go ahead and enter 6. Enter second number, we'll enter a 8, and now we're gonna get 14. So 14 is the correct answer. So our program worked. It was able to add the numbers correctly and everything's awesome. But let me show you guys one problem with this program. If I wanted to do math on decimal numbers, for example, if I said 2, and then over here I said like 6.8, when I add these together, we're not gonna get the correct answer. We're gonna get 6 plus 2, which is gonna be an integer 8, but we're not gonna get 8.8. So we're not getting the correct value. So instead of letting the user enter in only integers, why don't we instead let them enter in doubles? So over here, I'm gonna change these to double. So I'm gonna say num1 is gonna be a double, num2 is gonna be a double. And since we're getting doubles as input, we're gonna have to come down here and modify these. So right now, this is accepting an integer, but we want to make this accept a double. So normally if we're using printf and we wanted to print out a double, we would say f, and that stands for like floating point number. But when we're scanning for a number, if we want to use a double, we have to say lf, just like that. So down here, I'm also going to say lf, and we'll change this to just f. So printf is a little bit different than scanf, right? In scanf, if we want to accept a double as input, we need to use lf. In printf, we just use %f. So let's run our program now, and we should be able to add floating point numbers. So decimal numbers. Over here, we'll do 4.5 plus 6.7, and we get 11.2. So that looks good to me. Looks like everything's working properly. And now we have a basic calculator, so the user can enter in any numbers that they want and the calculator will be able to handle them. Now, this calculator is not like 100% ironclad secure. For example, like if I was to come up here and enter in like a string of characters instead of a number, you'll see that it's gonna break the program, right? So it's just like not doing what we wanted it to do. And as we go further in this course, we're gonna learn all sorts of ways that we can check to see if certain things are getting entered correctly, and we could basically mitigate circumstances like that. But for now, this is just kind of an introduction into how we can get numbers as input and do things like addition or multiplication once we have them. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.